Hello, this is my video for the final project presentation for Python. So first thing I want to start off with is the summarized text Python file. So basically what this Python file does is act as a, this what's kind of doing text summarization, because what the main focus, or I guess the main focus of my project was to make make a GUI and have kind of have small tabs here and there that would help more towards students, specifically in high school or in college, kind of help them with their studying. And one of the things that I decided to put in was a text summarizer. And this is what the summarized text Python file does. You have the function lexrank analysis, and then you have the other function here, the function LSA underscore analysis. And what these two functions are, they're basically just two methods on how to do text summarization through Python. And onward into the next thing, which is actually showing the actual final project, I suppose. So if I run this, okay. So for starters, as I mentioned, the main focus of this final project was to make a AI research assistant that is more towards college and high school students. So over here, we have the GUI system. We have one, two, three, four, five, six. We have six tabs, all with different purposes. So first off, you have the AI summarizer assistant. So over here, you would just put in some text here, and if you were to press the clear input button, it would clear input there. If there's any text there, if you press the clear output button, it would clear the output. And then if you press the generate summary button, it would obviously generate a summary based on whatever text is collected from this text box. So a perfect way to show it off is to actually start off with the second tab, which is the AI Wikipedia searcher. So what this basically does is it scraps text from the Wikipedia article of whatever topic you decided to do on. So, for example, if I were to do one on Python programming, and let's say I wanted the entire Wikipedia article. If I wanted the entire Wikipedia article, what I would do is press the generate Wikipedia article, and then it would just output the entire Wikipedia article for Python programming in this giant text box. And then if you press the clear output button, it would obviously clear the output here. And then if you can press the clear input button if you want to clear any text that are here or here on the two entry boxes. But anyways, also another thing is that let's say you don't want the entire article, but you kind of want just like a short summary on the Wikipedia article. So you can just put the title again here, and here you can put the amount of sentences you want for your Wikipedia summary. So let's say, for example, I want 5 sentences. Then I can click the generate Wikipedia summary, and then from there it will generate a supposedly a 5-sentence Wikipedia article on Python programming. So if I were to copy and paste this here, actually, and from here I can press the generate summary button, where it will create a summary based on my Python programming uh, Wikipedia article that I gave it. So then actually, if I copied and paste this, I'll actually take it onward to different things within the GUI. So the third thing to show is the AI verbal presenter. So for this, the main goal for this one is, I guess, if you have any troubles with public speaking or just doing presentations, one thing you can do is just have this thing to do the actual verbal presentation for you. So, for example, if I were to put in here hello world, if I press the clear input, it would clear the input from this text box. And if I were to press the generate speech audio button,
Hello world.
it will generate a audio overwrite audio file, and then it will actually output the results here in this text box, just in case if the input and output are the exact same when it came to the text to speech mechanism. But if you depress the clear output button, obviously it would clear the output there. But another thing you can do is you can generate speech audio from a text file. So for example, over here I have a text file here that's called text speech, and in this text speech text file, if you can put any sentences you want, as much words, sentences, paragraphs, whatever you want in here. You can put any text in the text file here, and what it would do is that if you clicked this button, it would basically generate text to speech based on whatever text is actually in the text file here. So if I were to click this,
I guess we could discuss the implications of the phrase meant to be. That is, if we wanted to drown ourselves in a sea of backwardly referential semantics and other mumbo-jumbo. Maybe such a discussion would result in the determination that meant to be is exactly as meaningless a phrase as it seems to be, and that none of us is actually meant to be doing anything at all. But that's my existential underpinnings showing. It's the way the cookie crumbles. And now I want a cookie.
So it texted a audio file based from the text from here. So you can obviously, if you want, you can just change everything. You can delete whatever text. You can do anything with the text file. You'll always get a text to speech audio file from the program here. And also, it will still also output whatever is inside the text file in here. And the next thing is the AI offline verbal presenter. So the difference between these two is that this one, the AI verbal presenter, the one that has this one uses the, if I remember correctly, this one uses the Google's library for text to speech, which is a lot more quicker, and allowed me to use the text file mechanism where I could have a text file, put some text in there, and have it do some text to speech. But the problem with using the Google library for text to speech is that it requires an internet connection. So if you by chance don't have an internet connection, this one wouldn't work. So that's why I made a fourth tab where and created a AI offline verbal presenter. So this one uses another Python library called PyTTSX3, if I remember correctly, and this is also just another text-to-speech library. But the difference for this one is this one does not need an internet connection. So you can go offline. For whatever reasons you could just have lost internet connection. You could still actually use this one then. But either way, might as well test this one out. So if we put hello world here, if you clear the input, it'll clear the input. And then if you put some text, press the generate speech audio button.
Hello world.
And it will generate some speech. And it'll also basically do the same thing as the other verbal presenter, where it would output whatever text it collected and put it into this text box so that the user can make sure that the AI is perfectly pronouncing the words that were put into this text box. Now onward into the fifth tab. So in the fifth tab, this is basically a text to PDF converter. So you can use this to basically kind of write your papers. So what initially you would do is that you would do some research from Wikipedia, pick a topic like Python programming, get some sentences, and then you would put it into the AI summarizer. And then once you put it into the AI summarizer, the program will generate a summary in which you can just copy and paste it into here. And then in this little entry box, you can just put like a title. So I'm just going to put Python paper. And then here you have the clear title input, which will clear the input. And then you have the clear text input, which would clear this scroll text box. But once you have all your text here and you have a title for it, you can press the generate PDF file. And then once that's clicked, you can go here where a PDF file will be created. If it wasn't already created, this one I already had to kind of just prepared already, so you don't have to worry, I guess, of creating your own PDF file. It'll just automatically create it if by chance it doesn't find a PDF file. But other than that, obviously you can see from the PDF file, here was the title of the paper, the title of the PDF file that I wanted, which was Python paper, which I'd also put in here, Python paper, and then all the text here was converted into this Python file. So if by chance you need to change anything here, so maybe just want to put just some random text in here, click the generate PDF file, then go here, double click it, and then it will update with whatever text was put in here, as long as you click the generate PDF file. And then onward into the next step, or I guess tab, which is the AI weather report. So for this one, what this basically does is that it kind of gives you a weather forecast, as the name would call for. So let's see. So over here, you'd first start off with entering the city name. So let's say, for example, I want to know the weather forecast for Denver, Colorado. I would put the name of the city here, and then if there was a mistake, I could just clear the input. If there was a mistake here, or if I just want to remove any text from here or here, you would just click one of these two buttons. But once you have the city of the weather forecast, or the city that you want a weather forecast for, you would then press the generate weather report, and then it would generate a weather report. So it state the name of the city, the temperature, the minimum temperature, maximum temperature, the humidity, current wind speeds, and the weather description. But I did notice that when it was calculating temperature, it would be off by around like 8 degrees at max, or about there. So it's not fully reliable on telling temperature. I mean, it could give you a good guess, but sometimes it'll be off by like 8 degrees, sometimes it'll just be off by 2 degrees, but the most I've seen was it being off by like 8 degrees. But that's all from this part of the final project. There was another thing, which was the chatbot. So what basically was also part of the plan was to add a chatbot into the final project, which did initially work, but for whatever reason, whenever I run this Python file now, it just gives me a operating system error. As it states, can't find model en, which was the English model. It doesn't seem to be a shortcut link, a Python package, or a valid point path to a data directory. I don't know why it's giving this error message, because I've worked with it previously and it worked, but for whatever reason, I guess it somehow forgot English. I don't know how that happened, but it just somehow happened. But either way, I guess I did get a majority of the actual final project done here. But might as well go into what the chatbot was supposed to do. So the chatbot, well, what it was supposed to do, so if I actually go back here and I'm just going to run this again. It was going to have another tab right after the AI weather report, and what it would do is basically it would talk about topics like itself. It would also talk about topics involving computers, state capitals, U.S. amendments, tallest buildings, and world's biggest economies, because, as mentioned, this program is kind of more centered towards high school / college students. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make a chatbot that kind of helps, I guess, with your education in some sense. So it would introduce itself. If you wanted any help with if you wanted to make your own chatbot, you can just send the chatbot a message saying that you want to make your own chatbot, and it would give you like a link saying, oh, this is how you make a chatbot. Or if you wanted help with quizzes, it would send you a link to Quizlet. If you wanted help with grammar, it would send you a link to Grammarly. If you wanted help with studying, it would send you a URL for studying. If you wanted help for college help, it would send you a URL for that. If you wanted help with citation, the chatbot would send you a link to CiteFast, which is a citation website. And if you needed help trying to find a job, the chatbot would send you a link to www.indeed.com, which is a website used for finding jobs. The chatbot also had jokes programmed into it using the PyJokes library. And then, as mentioned before, the chatbot would talk about itself. It would talk about state capitals. It would talk about U.S. amendments, the tallest buildings, the biggest economies, and the way the chatbot would interact is basically through questions. So, if the user had a specific question on either just talking, if it had a question on like the chatbot's personality, it would answer. It would answer it. If the user had a question on computers, if it had a question on state capitals, the U.S. amendments, tallest buildings, and world's biggest economies, or if it needed help finding a job, if the user needed help finding a job, if it needed help with citation, then the chatbot would be there to help you. But as mentioned before, I couldn't get it to work with the GUI, as for whatever reason the chatbot itself just didn't decide to not work because for whatever reason it somehow forgot English. Don't know how it happened, but it somehow happened. But I still kind of have it, I guess, attached into the whole project just for because most like all of the chatbot is done. It's just for whatever reason the operating system error that just came out of nowhere just decided to happen. But other than that, that is everything for my video on my final project presentation for the Python programming.